Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's Monday, and I think it's the end of November. Either today or tomorrow is the end of November. And I'm just going to take a walk through, and we're going to follow the water system on the property. So behind me here is Pond 1, and it's a pretty good sized pond, and it has a peninsula in the center of it where we got some benches out there. Let me see, well, I'm not going to play around with this unit. I'm not used to it yet. So what we're going to do is we're at the northeast highest elevation on the property, 450 feet, and we go down to just below 400 feet elevation on the property. The slope of the property basically goes right towards the sun behind me. It goes right down on an angle south west. So more west than south at times, but then more south than west as we go further down the property. So we'll just take a little bit of a walk and see just where we are. So Pond 1. Pond 1 just gets the, it has quite a bit of shade from the southern side, which is behind me here. You see lots of trees back here. And there's lots of runoff from this small little area adjacent to the road. And this property is predominantly gravel rich. And now we're going to get over to, right now I'm standing on a roadway, but off to the north, so this way is north, where all these leaves are. Now let me see if you can see that. I don't know, right in line with this tree here is about a 7-foot wide, and I think that's about 80-foot long, raised garlic bed. Then we have a swale, and I've wood chipped this whole area, and those white cones that you see, white tubular structures that you see that have a piece of rebar holding them down, those are the tree guards. It keeps the deer from destroying the trees as we go along. Here's the second swale. There's two swales that go along the road that capture the runoff from the road, and they interconnect with a couple of these swales coming down the side. So this swale sinks into this mound, which has some more trees in it, not as many. And we are going down in elevation. As we're walking, we're going lower in elevation. Here's another leaf covered or mulch garlic bed, and then Thea, my wife, and I just got done planting this garlic bed here. So this one I'm going to throw some coffee grounds on it, and there's some bags of leaves. I collect lots of leaves from the nearby city of Fulton, New York. Another swale, and again there are other swales heading up towards the road. Where I'm walking right now will eventually be all garden beds going this way, going in the direction going basically perpendicular to the contour of the property. And over here I've just got done putting some compost, fresh compost, on top of the horseradish. Everything's getting ready for winter here. We just had 2 foot of snow this last week, and it's just melting now. There's my compost pile. I got it uncovered so I can start topping off a lot of the beds around here. And we'll walk over here. Here's another one of the swales, and I've opened up the swales. Actually, this one wraps right around and over, going this way here, going basically north and south, is the main driveway of the property. And the swales actually this one wraps right around, goes over to the driveway, and any runoff that comes from the crown in the driveway makes its way around, soaks into this whole area where there's a whole bunch of it's an orchard basically. Here we all have red raspberries. It's about 350 foot run of raspberries here. I have shorter runs down and back. And we can see one of the things about the swales that I found is there's so much sediment and so much organic material. And again, I purposely do my composting pretty high on the property. That compost, as it's going into the soil around here, gets into all of the downstream effects. It gets put into the mounds and the soil on the other side here of. I'm sorry, with the camera, I'm trying to get used to using this. So as we go over in this direction, you can see it gets into here where all the hazelnuts are, and some of it's going to go into the spillway. So there's the swale. Here's a spillway. As the snow's melting, it's coming down, and this spillway drops into another swale down here as well. Not sure how well any of this is showing up. But down in the swales, I let all of the grass and weeds grow up, so there's lots of wildflowers and lots of pollen and nectar for all the various beneficial insects around. There's wasp nests in the area as well, and it's good forage for the honeybees that we have. And so I don't do all that much mowing, but that grows up, the leaves come into this area, cardboard gets into this area as well, and it's one of the passive ways of actually building some soil. So this is one of the areas that I scrape out, grab the soil, and use it in beds. Over here is pond 2, relatively small circular one. This one has one of the hugelkultur extensions off it underground here where the logs are. Those are the areas where it's really rich. That swale that I just showed you just right here, that one goes underground, the drain, the spillway. And I don't know if you can hear that, but down in here, there's the runoff going into pond 2. So we're trying to gather as much of the organic material as possible. As much of the organic material as possible as we're progressing and moving further downstream, which we're controlling. So now we'll walk over a little bit further. There's a whole series of interconnected swales up in the assistance in amongst the orchard. Then we get another swale. A second here, sorry. Trying to operate this camera. So here's another swale. This is at road level out at the far end down there. And the water drains off the crown in the driveway, makes its way down in here. But because the slope of the land goes this way, it actually digs into the system, so I can keep it fairly parallel with the canal system, which goes down below. So the nutrients and water soak into the area, but the spillway is on this way, on this side, so I don't have it spilling into the driveway. And that drops down into the same location where pond 2 actually drops into. And we'll get right over here. All right, turn around here. So here we are. This is pond 2, almost like one of those endless pools that you might see. And the spillway is right here at my footing here, and I let everything grow up. I don't mow this down. I really want it nice and thick. And I don't know if you can hear it, but you can hear the water just moving gradually down here. And it spills over into here, into this canal system, which also drains from along the driveway, comes down around. Right here at our feet is another, that pipe that's draining from the spillway from the last swale that I just showed you. And this canal system goes right down, and we're going to dump into canal 3 down below down there in just a moment. So I'm going to hop over to the edge here. Well, not hop, because it's a couple of feet deep. So we're going to look up the driveway up here, and there's a crown in the center of the driveway, and it pitches towards the east side, and the moisture comes right down here, catches in each one of those entrances or mouths to the swale systems, and we redirect it to soak in, to gradually sink and soak into the aquifer. But we're also taking anything that gets too high and spilling it into the canal system. This canal system has ended up being a really neat system, and I ended up, we had our worst drought this year, so all of our ponds were much lower than they have ever been, except for the one that I've been patching, and that's pond 5. That actually did better this year. It didn't go dry despite the terrible drought. So some of this canal system is very shallow back up towards the driveway up here, and it gets deeper as we work our way around. And as we get down towards the other end in a moment, once we get past this hugelkultur apparatus that I'm building here. So this is a terraced hugelkultur bed. A few thousand trees are laid side by side, tight together, very little brush in this hugelkultur system. They're all pretty much interlocked, and then layer by layer, as the logs were laid, some fill from this canal system was put into it. This system creates so much soil. Probably every other year I'll be able to come through with the excavator and just gradually scoop out some beautiful rich soil to add to my garden beds and expand garden beds. Again, we're on a gravel bed here. So those Premier 1 electric fences that you see a lot of permaculture people talk about, and pasture grazing, free-range chickens, well, they use those fences. You can't even drive it into the ground until after we build up some of the soil. But here we are. In between these logs, down on the edge, is a bountiful supply of amphibians and insects in here, which really creates an amazing ecosystem. Now right about here, it's about 4.5 feet deep right at this end. And again, that's where we came from. Up at that end right there, at the elbow in the system, is where it spilled from pond 2. This comes across the driveway over, so it's a fairly narrow spillway, but it can widen out, and it's number 2 stone. I may have to scrape that off as the silt deposits in there, but the way I've got it trapping down below, it works pretty well. Now we're going into the bioremediation system that I built years ago. This is modeled after some work by Lee Marsh and John Todd, and we have a diverse plant systems inside of these this canal system. And over there is pond 3. Let me see, can I make this thing go? So pond 3 is over in that area. And this canal system goes around under the bridge and over there, and I'll walk over there so you can see, but the marginal zone is what's so important here. So we have a deep zone, and it's similar to these block walls that you see on the sides. I built all these block walls. They're about 3 foot high on the sides that keep the soil from the landscaping from going into there. And then there's another 3 foot down where it collects a lot of sediment and good soil down at the bottom. One of the things, I'm sorry, I'm falling over here. One of the things that we've noticed here is that we've always had many different, just trying to adjust the camera here, bear with me. Many different species of, well, many different amphibian and reptile species in these areas. Been very, very fortunate. And so here's where the canal system opens up into pond 3. All the kingdoms occupy all of these various spots on the property. So we've seen pond 1 up at the top of the property, pond 2 at the where it basically drains into the canal system. That's not an actual bioremediation, but it's a soil capturing system. And here we are. I don't know if you can see this system when it's real nice and clear. This year, when we had such a severe drought, the water level got so low that we discovered we have freshwater clams and mussels in here. And I never put them here. Not sure how they got here, but they showed up and have been filtering our water as well. So we're not going to head back out there into the food forest at this time. This canal system actually goes right under the driveway. So this is a canal system that we just came from pond 3, and it has the marginal zones going under the driveway. And comes out over on this side. And this is another marginal area. Then we dive down into the canal system. It's amazing life that we have out here in these pond systems. We're just, well, I just like to take time at times to be out here and spend time with all of the various wildlife that we have on site. And you see, I let the weeds grow up all around the margins of the ponds up above for all the beneficial insects, including our food for our bees. So now we're into pond 4. This pond also has a peninsula. Those are some of the rocks down there that we, as we're digging garden beds, these are some of the rocks we have here. They can really be a real hassle to deal with. And this is, most people think of this as a lily pad and the big frog and turtle pond, but it's, we have hundreds of different turtles in here, including the Blandings turtle. And we'll walk over in this area here. So now we just saw, we've seen pond 1, 2, 3, and that was 4 that we just saw. Now we're coming over here to pond 5. Oh, probably one of the muskrats just dove down here. Now this is the pond. Pond 5 has been my most challenging pond so far. And the reason that it's been so challenging is because, let me go around the pond. So, right here, this is ground level 5 years ago. 12 years ago, the ground level is actually about 3 feet lower than this. Well, about 13 years ago. So this whole area was built up as I built this pond the first time, and I took the fill and put it over here. When we rebuilt it and I put all that block work around that pond, is we had an excessive amount of fill because I wanted to put the marginal zone, so we've made a big berm, and that's why this is elevated here. Where the greenhouse is going here, and that's the work area and coop right over there. This is built up even further, and that far side of the pond over there, pond 5, well, this is basically a gravel bed. We have minimal amounts of clay. There are some pockets of clay way down and back, but very little clay. so little clay that it's very frustrating when you're putting in pond systems. Now, the direction that I'm going right now, I'm actually walking west right now, so I'll be coming up alongside of this pond. A few years ago, I'm one of the, well, first let me start off with this pond. You would say it has a type 1 error when designing the system. Why? Because the slope of the property goes this way. It heads west. And if you see over here, the ground just drops off. Below this is all stone wall. So the longest wall, one of the two longest walls on this property, was built up dirt over a stone wall with gravel. So let's see if we can see down in there. Not sure how well any of this is showing up, but there's lots of stone wall in here. And so in the soil samples that I took out of here originally, it was almost all gravel. And we tried patching it with the excavator and the dozer a couple of times, and we could see the water just running right out over here. And it made every place where this pond is attached to the adjacent property unusable for the farmer to actually, not now, honey, it's okay, Timmy. Made it unusable. He couldn't even plow his pasture, his field for seeding it for his corn and soy, which really wasn't that bad because I didn't care for the GMO and the glyphosate. But anyways, 3 years ago I decided I'm going to try using cardboard and shredded paper to patch the pond. And so the year before last, started putting the cardboard in there, shredded paper, and leaves. And Timmy, come on, handsome boy, come on. Sorry, my cat's all over me. And that seemed to work. It never has gone completely dry since starting putting the cardboard in it. Now, it would go down very, very low 2 years ago. So last year, I put a ton of cardboard in here. Basically 2 businesses worth of it and a lot of leaves. And as I mentioned, this past summer, okay, Timmy. My boy. Yes. This past summer, we put last fall we put lots and lots of cardboard in there and leaves. And this past summer, we had the worst drought that we've ever had. Here, hop down, handsome. And as a result, let me just interrupt what I'm saying here. This is the spillway. And now we're taking the spillway, since we're at the west part of the property, we're heading south, but we're heading southeast. So we can go to another pond in the future. Well, anyways, we had our worst drought this past summer, and the water level went way down in all our ponds, but it never dried up in this pond, which was very exciting. So I didn't have as much cardboard to put in this season, but I had the paper bags from many loads of leaves and a lot of leaves that I put in there. And what appears to happen is they go down the bank, the leaves and the cardboard, each year and seal up a little bit closer down towards the bottom. And so the bottom seals pretty well, and we're gradually working our way up the bank. I anticipated it would take me at least 3 years to seal the bottom, and we're already at that point. Possibly in another 2 or 3 years if I can get enough cardboard. But I use cardboard for everything, and no paper products leave this property anymore. Even our smallest pieces of paper, we use a passive method of soil building in the woods. But here we come into pond 6. Pond 6 gives us some reflection for the solar panels, but this pond actually dries up every summer. It's all sand, unfortunately. So we took that from Pond 3, which was right next to the stone wall, the western boundary line of our property, and I want to use the water as many times as possible. So we brought it on a southeasterly direction, dumped it into Pond 6 here, which I will patch with cardboard and leaves in the future. And here's the spillway. I'm walking in the spillway right now. And there's a small amount of drainage here that comes from this side of the where the stuff that comes off the solar panels, and there's another tiny little I'll call it a pocket. It's maybe 30 feet long, 8 foot wide pseudo pond that'll be expanding, that's in the woods, and I'll be expanding that significantly. So now the spillway's wide here, and it goes down into a narrower path heading down to Pond 7. So that's Pond 6. Over on this side is the nursery area. This year we sold quite a few bare root thornless blackberries and red raspberries. Over on this side are sea berries. What's under the tarp back there is the big, huge hugelkultur bed that I put in first that really compacted way down, and I'll be building that up again when I get enough wood chips in the future, or make enough soil. So the spillway from Pond 6 goes down this narrow path and goes down into Pond 7. And this is Pond 7. It has a small marginal zone. It goes through the drive-through. I can actually take my excavator down here and help clean out the tracks going through my drive-through here. Here are 4 loads of leaves that I picked up, and probably one of the things that really allowed me to do so much work on this property, I should walk over on this side, is my dump trailer, which allows me to go in and get manure from a farm, get leaves in the fall from the neighboring town. And here we are. This is another very simple canal way, or swale. Allows everything to soak into the ground down below. I'm just walking around this for a moment. And you can see we connect the water, collect it from the drain, the floor drain in the sugar shack up there. I'm sorry, where's the sugar shack? It's right there. Sorry. And so it has a root cellar in the bottom, and the floor drain comes out here, and that's an 8-foot depth. It's about a foot above ground, so 7 feet from ground level. At the base of this is where the drain pipe to that area is. So it's very deceptive how much of a slope there actually is on the property. And this is a maple forest behind us, and hopefully I'll be able to tap a lot of these trees in the future and take that sap, pump it up into the sugar shack, and make some maple syrup. It just takes a little while to get it done. And it's going to get dark here in just a moment, but I think if we walk over here, so we've seen 7 ponds, and we've moved back east about, right now at this location here, we're just over 900 feet away from the property line. So we took it, even though the slope goes down from the top of the property way up there where we started, and came down through the canal systems and the ponds, went across the property almost went into my neighbor's property, came back down, came across to pond 6. Pond 6 did the spillway down to pond 7. Pond 7 brought it back over here as well, and that goes back down into the woodland area. And you might be able to see in the background some glimmer back there. And that pond, the surface of that beaver pond back there, and it's quite large, multiple acres, that's at just below 400 feet. I think it's 398 feet is what it is, and we started off at 450 feet. But the property does take dips and valleys, which I've been working at. Timmy, right now, handsome boy. So I think that covers it. So we're purposely putting our compost at the very top of the property, or as close to the top of the property as we can, and taking advantage of the oh gosh, Timmy, of the runoff coming down the property, going down you know, perpendicular to the contour of the property, and making its way, yes, Timmy, please, sorry, making its way down the property. I apologize for this. Making its way down the property, we're taking that fertile soil, capturing the soil, and first it was in the canal systems, but it was building up so quickly, and then I discovered the filter feeders in there, and I didn't want to disturb them anymore, because I think they're doing a great deal of good work as far as bioremediation. But I'm grasping that soil that's going in the lawn canal next to the hugelkultur bed that I'm building now. So constantly reusing, capturing as much water as we can on the property and reusing it over and over again. Well, that's the flow of the water that we're capturing on the property. And thanks so much for watching. And this has been a not so brief update. Thanks so much, and have a great day, folks. Bye-bye now.